Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'll join in with John.
Yeah. Welcome back to the podcast. And the live. Actually, this is a live stream. And yeah, we've had some technical difficulties, so sorry for the late start. But if you guys are listening to this on audio, then we also apologize because it's raining cats and dogs. Don't know where that saying came from, but it's raining a lot. And so that is why you hear rain in the background. And today I'm joined by Dave. Thanks for coming out.
It's good to be
man.
here again.
While we're talking about, I'm going to look up cats and dogs may come from the Greek expression kata doxa, which means contrary to experience or belief. Oh, so if it's raining cats and dogs, it's raining unusually or unbelievably hard.
Look at this. Look at us. You're a fountain of information.
Dude, Google's amazing. I didn't even have to use two hands for that.
We're parsing Greek on here.
Right?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into the New Testament.
I was in Latin this morning and I'm in Greek by the afternoon. It's not bad.
You're a new-aged man, John.
I know. I was actually, I was reading in James chapter 1, verse 4.
Oh.
I think that's what it was. James 1:4. Let perseverance finish its work.
Yes. Yep. Man, I got to put my glasses on.
Or James chapter 1, verse 4, not 4, verse 1. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Nice.
And so I was looking into like what the word actually means, perseverance.
Yeah.
And I got it all written down here actually.
So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed,
Yep.
you'll be perfect and complete, needing nothing.
There you go.
Do you use the Blue Letter Bible?
I do not, but I should.
It is.
You love
awesome.
it, eh?
I love it. So like you can, what I love about it is when you do have internet. So James 1:4, right?
Yep. Blue Letter Bible.
Yeah, and I'll advertise them for them, and they can sponsor me if they want. It's really awesome.
That'd be cool.
But they, like if you want to, it gives you, so 1:4, let steadfastness have its full effect. So we've had about 4 different ways of saying the same word. But you can pull up an interlineal concordance right away. And look at
a bunch of different concordances lined up on the same verse.
Like the interlinear gives you English, and then the Strong's reference, which is a Strong's concordance,
okay.
And then you have the Greek. So endurance, what is it? Hypomony, I think. Endurance, perseverance, steadfastness, constancy, endurance, and so just that depth of that word is really
So what I thought about today, and sorry guys, this is a random start to the whole thing, but that's how it goes. Like, you know how it's hard to explain to maybe a new Christian or maybe a young kid, like the difference between joy and happiness?
Yeah.
It's kind of like describing the difference between I was going to say endurance, actually. That was a word I was thinking of this morning, like endurance and perseverance. Or like perseverance is just, perseverance in my word study today, it's just more than just, actually it meant more to me than just endurance. It meant more than just like sticking it out.
Yeah.
And so the reason I say that was because when I was like, and I know that perseverance is an English word made to reflect what the Greek had originally said, right? So I know that that's not, we're trying our best with multiple languages here. So perseverance in the Latin, so the prefix of per, means being thorough.
Okay.
So in this instance, like continuing effort. The root, sever.
Okay.
From the Latin as well. So being serious, strict.
Okay. Severe.
Severe. And the suffix of ance is like action. It denotes action or like a state.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a word that is more of a verb than a noun.
Yeah.
I guess perseverance.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so it's the action of being seriously thorough.
Yeah.
And for whatever it's worth, I mean, it just kind of gave new meaning to me, rather than just, because I was going, it stood out to me, I think, today, because I felt like this last year, 2024, for whatever years and annual, beginnings and ends mean to you, I don't actually take a lot of, like, people are like, oh, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. It's just like time goes on. It just happens to be a new calendar year. But nothing really, I know nothing actually really changes. That's why I've never gotten behind the, like, New Year's resolution stuff and whatnot. But for whatever it's worth, it felt like 2024 was a year of waiting.
Yeah.
And in waiting, it's easy to be passive.
Right.
And to have waiting not be an active thing.
Right.
And I think we're called as Christians to be active waiters.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And so the perseverance thing stood out to me because I was like, it's not just about, I'm just going to get through this.
Right.
I'm waiting for the next thing, and then I'll take action. It's like, no, like actually active waiting.
Yeah.
There was an interesting verse. Oh, where did I see it? When the Lord is talking to Abraham, and he says, go to the land, and then I will show you.
Right.
And I was just like, I think it was a video I saw. It was a pastor who was talking about it. And he was like, look, it wasn't like he said to Abraham, like, I will show you, and then you will go.
Right.
It was like, no, go.
Yep.
And then I will show.
And then I will show you.
And I was like, oh man, that hit me hard, because I think I'm doing that as best I can. I mean, we moved here to Fiji. That's what the Walk of Family thing is all about. Yeah. It's like doing the uncomfortable thing and stepping out of your comfort zone and trying to do something fresh and new in Fiji with this brand. But like, it's easy to do that at one time, to go and then expect to be shown. But then I feel like I've been just waiting. And so I need to mark this year as more of like a year of like being seriously thorough and actively waiting.
That's a really good perspective. A year of persevering, of active waiting, it's taking care of the things that you need to take care of, because part of perseverance is like there's preparation and perseverance. You're getting ready for something significant. You know?
Exactly. And like, we expect that, okay, oh man, we've been waiting. Like, we're 5 years into this process now. Not to make this conversation all about me, but it feels like 5 years.
But your name's on the whole thing, so it's okay.
It feels like 5 years is a long time, you know? But it's also, it's a long time if you're Sevaniah, who's 6 years old. Yeah. That's, 5/6 of his life, right?
Yeah. But I was thinking about that today.
Yeah.
That's great, yeah.
And so, but when it might not actually be that long if I have another 10 years to wait before whatever thing I'm waiting for actually happens. I might only be halfway through it. And there's also a crazy amount of tragedy that could happen that would make this so much worse than it already is. And so it's like, okay, it's okay to be waiting. Yeah. Just don't only wait.
Yeah. I was thinking about it from the perspective of like, this is, so I was born in 65. So this is, 25. So I'm turning 60 this year. And it's just one of those, I think there's
60.
When I was 29, that's like the first time I thought about my age, right?
Yeah, true.
It was like, for some reason, it's like I'm done with my 20s. I'm about to be 30, got a little family, I just grasped like age. And I just felt, that day is just like, I felt like I was aware of my age, and not in a bad way or anything, but just sort of an awareness. And then, 59 to 60, I think, is one of those markers where you're just sort of aware of things. It's not a bad thing. It's not,
40, 50, not the same.
Nothing.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And so I was just thinking about that this morning, as being the year that's happening for me, and then kind of looking around. And I think I saw a picture of Va's little girl on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Really cute picture, and it just kind of dawned on me. It's like, man, in 10 years, so she's what, 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
In 10 years, she'll be 14, and I'll be 70. right?
Right.
And you just started to notice it's kind of like an accordion closing. Like once you get to 60, it's like the accordion's starting to shut down a little bit. It's starting to withdraw.
Right.
And everyone in those years get like it's 10, when we're talking about parents and the age of your parents, and it's like, you're starting to talk about 70, and it's like, man, now, getting past 90 is an achievement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start to think about that accordion kind of shutting down on you.
Yeah.
And that, we have less and less available space to accomplish things in our lives or, whatever God's got laid out for us. And so the act of waiting becomes more urgent, right? There's a sense of urgency in your waiting that it's like, God, I don't know, how much longer. Like I said, when sitting down here, I'm so thankful for the chair because my knee, it's like for the first time I've hurt myself a lot. I've had injuries in my life, but
wrestling hasn't helped.
No, and I wasn't a competitive wrestler. I was just a coach, and so I don't have what Ryan's got laying before him. But just like life, you tumble, you do things, and but you just start to notice it's like, I'm not. When I moved here, I was 54, right? Big difference between 60 and 54,
right,
I think.
Right.
And so that perseverance and endurance and all of those plays into our lives in that waiting period. And, when we engage in something and we're just waiting on God, and that's the hardest part is because what are we persevering for? What are we waiting for? I'm not waiting to go in the grave. I'm waiting for Jesus to show back up. And I'm also waiting for his will to be obvious to me, and so I'm kind of marking time, and like, God, what do you want me to do? And in that waiting, in that persevering and enduring, just trying to take care of the things that he's given me, and do the best with what I've got in front of me. Where did you go with it this morning? I would love to hear that.
So I feel like everything, or like the last, times in the Word, it's all been. Not all. It consistently points back to me needing to be reminded that Jesus saying to me, like, I'm enough.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Oh, like, well, okay, it's all the stuff, all the dreams.
Yeah.
You have.
It's hard to balance.
But. Like, I'm enough.
Yeah.
And you exist for me.
Yep.
And but it's hard. And so that also makes the active waiting thing.
Because he's made us motivated people.
Yeah, for sure.
We wouldn't be here from where we came from unless we were motivated.
No.
Because there's an element
for
of,
sure.
I love living here, but we gave up stuff to be here.
Yeah.
We gave up lives. We gave up, a lot of things that we existed in order to be in this place.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of purpose to our living that is probably not driving other people.
Yeah.
And so we're purposeful people and we're mission oriented in that, and not necessarily from a Christian missionary perspective, but
and that's the thing too.
But from like okay, I've got something to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that. And we're also changing to be followers of Jesus, and so being a follower means you follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that means that the person who's really motivated to build has to be one who sometimes has to be, their perseverance is in the waiting. And that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that I'm okay with waiting. Like, it's just,
I'm not.
I think I just need to be more.
I'm a terrible waiter.
Active.
I'm a terrible waiter. Yes. I get depressed by waiting, and it bothers me to wait on things, and it's probably one of my struggles.
I've just told myself that, like, the expectation that things will happen in a certain timeline, the timeline being fast, always will set you up to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And so it's like, actually most of life is does not happen when we actually want it to happen. Yeah. And if it did, it wouldn't be good for us anyways, right?
Right.
But I find myself being like, okay, if you actually expect it to take a long time, when it takes a long time, it's not as bad.
Right.
It doesn't hurt as much, It's like in the sales process when I used to sell expensive car maintenance to people, and be like, oh, it's going to be $8,000. You came in for an oil change, but your car needs like $8,500 of work.
Yeah.
It's like if you premise it with like, all right, this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you everything that's going on with your vehicle, and I'm going to prioritize it for you, and you can choose if you want to do what you want to do first, second, third. But I'm going to tell you, starting with safety, and then going down to maintenance and stuff like that. But if you can like make people brace, then the high price is still a high price. It's just like at least they're bracing for it, and so they're like expecting it. And so, I mean, it's maybe a unnecessary way of explaining it, but just expecting it to take a long time. But even in doing that, sometimes you're like, it's taking a long time. Kind of like waiting for the ship,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So you were waiting for a ship?
I have been waiting for. Yes, as a matter of fact. It wasn't me, though. It was my beloved.
Okay.
They had, we had, so my wife and my son, who is 38, they had taken the car down to, they were taking the ferry over to Viti Levu, and then they were going to pick up my sister-in-law and her son and spend a little bit of time in Viti Levu. They've been here for a couple weeks. They've had an excellent visit. They've really had a good time here. But Tina purchased a ticket through Gounder, and the time for reporting I think was 10 with a departure of 11, and somewhere late in the afternoon, after multiple ship movements and other things, I think they ended up leaving, and it was just so slow, so slow in getting loaded, so slow and just all the things. And it just had me thinking. I think I even posted about it on Facebook. And, one of the things I know that there's a big push to bring tourists to the north. And until we figure out, and I mean we're all part of the problem, all part of the solution.
Residents of this, of Vanuatu.
We're all part of, we're all residents of Vanuatu.
Yeah.
And until as a country, we figure out how to get people from Viti Levu to Vanuatu in a more organized and more predictable manner, we're going to struggle to reach the tourist dollars that I think they hope for us to reach. We can build demoter. It's affecting our costs in the stores here. It's affecting everything about our lives having poor transportation. And
logistics.
Gounder and Interlink, I mean, they are working boats, but these are boats that are, on their service life, arc of their service life.
Yeah.
They are
in their 70s.
They're very close to being tuna cans,
and
or artificial reefs, and until something, and we see Gounders making efforts.
He's bringing
they're bringing the fast boats, and we'll see how that changes things. But I think the root of it is, and it's something that's really near and dear to you. It's customer service, right? When somebody comes into this country and they can't figure out how to buy a ticket, they can't even find the office, right? They don't know. You can't figure out how to get a car on the boat. Number one, the rental cars probably won't even let you take a car on the ferry
unless you do the private rentals.
Right. Yeah. Which is
what
we don't speak about that. Yeah. And so,
but that's the only ones that that's the rentals that people bring across.
Right.
Other ones from private.
Well, that's I've got a good story.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that or blindly ignored that, and got a little bit. Things got a little hectic with an accident over here one time.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was not good.
Oh shoot. With a real rental car company.
Oh yeah. It was a budget. I think we had one of the vans, and I brought it over here. And as we were going by the mill in Wangele, somebody from Manabai pulled out in front of us on the other side.
Okay.
And we drove off the road and into the ditch in the rental. And oh man, I stirred up a hornet's nest. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have it on that side.
No.
Whoa.
I got told that multiple times. So yeah. So I learned my lesson there.
Shoot.
Yeah, pay attention. So anyway,
right.
but that's even part of it. It's like how, is it it's so dangerous that you can't bring a rental car, or you can't figure out how to get on the bus easy, or like
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. Like the rental car companies are so worried about the ship transportation that they don't allow their vehicles to be taken inter-island.
Yep.
I see. Yes, right.
And because I think there's so much of this country that people should see. I mean, this is beautiful. There's places in Vanuatu.
Dude, the drive from here to Samsawu,
oh man,
it's breathtaking.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
That highway?
Absolutely. When you get to the top and you're looking out over
on a day like today, when it's finished raining and the clouds are clearing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the drive up the coast and past Nangi.
Oh yeah, true.
And all of that. I mean, that's stuff that people should see. But until it gets figured out, how do we get people safely to this side of that? They need to know how to get a ticket. They need to know where to buy a ticket. They need to know what the schedule is. And Facebook, like even you and me, if we try to figure out what the regular schedule for any of the carriers is, it's a crapshoot.
I call Hamza.
Yeah.
I call my friend who brings his vehicle across.
We have to go into the office at Gounder, and even then, it's like they've got multiple times posted. And
it's like look at the Matrix, right?
And they're nice people, but but everything I read on Facebook, like the commentary is negative from the people, and then there's no response. And if you look at like classic businesses that deal with people, say hotels, motels, whatever. Typically, if they have an online presence, then when somebody's complaining about something, they're immediately responding. They're like, "Thank you for letting us know. We'll do our best to take care of that." Right? Nothing. It's crickets. And so
I think it's because it's basically a monopoly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you complain about flour, it's Punjas and FMF.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
And
100%.
you're like, what are you going to do about it?
Right. Yep.
Sift your flour.
Right.
Get the bugs out.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, so there's a certain amount of that. I think there's also, and I'm not making excuses, but
I'm not looking for...
I cannot imagine MSAF being fun to deal with for these guys.
No.
How fun is it to deal with the LTA at the best of times with one simple vehicle?
Right.
You have a boat now.
Yep.
And that's just a normal fiberglass, 23-footer.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't know how bad it is. It might not be that bad at all because they probably have people sent to the ships, but it's got to be a pain in the A.
Well, first, you're trying to figure out how to get your license.
Yeah, is
complicated. It was only by passing that we heard that there was a village training in Tambia. They had made the Yavusa had organized a training to be held for this particular area, and it worked out really good with the village with Tambia, and so that was awesome.
Yeah, I love it when they do that,
and that's how it should be.
Yeah,
and they should do that pretty regularly, and I think they're trying to. I don't know. I haven't been involved in that world enough to say, up, down.
Yeah.
You can find their details for like what are you supposed to have in the boat, pretty easy. It takes a little work, but you can find it, and they're pretty. They don't. I hate to say it this way, but they don't have the enforcement capability to make it a real headache. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like in Canada when I'm fishing,
oh gosh,
I'm like very nervous if my fishing license is close to expiry or I don't have
your boat registration's out of date. If they don't make you carry a license. Every knucklehead in the world can drive a boat.
Even when you fillet a fish in Canada,
yeah,
you have to leave a certain amount of the skin on your fillets so that they can identify what once it's in your freezer at home, you're okay. But as you're traveling down the road, they can stop you, pull out every fillet, and make sure that you don't have. And they can confiscate your car, your firearms, your quads, your trailers, everything. And
when they say catch and release, it's catch and release. They mean it. Yeah. If you have, in the area that we're from, it's like if you catch a cutthroat trout north of a certain point on the river and you don't put that back and they catch it in your possession, you're going to get hosed for thousands of dollars.
I think with MSAF, I bet you the most difficult thing that these ferries deal with, and you guys can correct us if we're wrong, but I'll bet is the logistics of the ports.
Yeah.
Like, because they all share one jetty.
Yeah. Yep.
And like when I mean one jetty, like it's one jetty.
Yeah.
There's not like in on BC ferries. There's like they can line up like 6 ships.
Oh yeah.
You know, like here it's like one.
And that's what you and I both know. It's like that's not what we're looking for, right?
No,
we're not looking for like Seattle, Vancouver. You know, these places operate like these super regular.
Oh no,
clockwork ferries.
No.
It's the
problem is I know there's a bus that shows up late,
Yeah.
and it's one of their buses. There's a bunch of their passengers, and so they have left.
Yep.
They turn around and they come back.
Yep.
They pick them up, and now they're half an hour late to get to that port, and that screws over the boat behind
Or
you.
something's going on, and the buses, like the first 3 buses that get there, are stranded on the pier for 3 hours, and there's a place with one toilet, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Have a
and
fresh
barely
tea and
any
coffee
food, and you've got a busload of people. Now, mind you, everybody on that bus understands their assignment. I mean, that's the best way. It's like they've got their full-on meal. They've got everything figured out
true.
because they've been beaten into submission about this, right? This is the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the challenge is if you want to grow tourism in the north, if you really want to make a difference and be difference makers, then, you know, you have to do things different.
Yeah.
And it isn't, they're never going to be able to fly that many more people in here. But if you want to see a difference in income that'll make a difference, it's going to have to be done through the ferries and that way of getting people here.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk, because it's not that far to go.
No.
Like, it's not like people are on the ferry for, like, before it was right from the Suva Wharf all the way to Sosavu, and it was a 13-hour ferry ride. That's a long, that's one that people will say, no, I'm not going to Honolulu, I'm going to fly. You know, but like this, like, for us, you know, I'm not afraid of 4 hours on a ferry, 3 hours on a ferry. That's that's the same as going to Vancouver Island. It's not a big deal.
You make it a good bus ride that's comfortable for people and they enjoy it. And a 4-hour ferry ride between these 2 islands on your vacation, is freaking awesome.
Actually, it's not whatever.
It's
awesome. Yeah. Yes.
You know, if you make the experience worthwhile, if you give them a decent bus to be on that they're comfortable, and you give them somewhere on the ship that's comfortable, it's a good experience. It's a cruise.
Yeah.
Right. It's actually something you can make decent money on.
Yeah.
And have them on a bus ride.
Yeah.
And Joe tourist gets to see the port, you know, where they're leaving from, where they're going to. They get the view of the island. That whole experience is awesome.
Yeah.
And it should be appreciated. And instead, it's just torture.
Because, the thing for Fiji Airways is like their Fiji Link. I mean, their flights are maxed out. Like, they're full.
Yep.
And so, unless they increase their ATR fleet by a bunch, you're still talking about 40, 50 people on a flight.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the hundreds that can come by boat.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so,
this is a beautiful place. You know?
And man, even the drive from Nambuolo up here is nice. Yeah, actually, that's a nice drive.
You throw people in a comfortable bus on that trip during the day.
Yeah,
and I think it's one of the prettiest drives. I love making that drive.
Yeah, and the road's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it used. I mean, you hear all the stories. No, like it used to be, and like they mean that. But like it's actually a beautiful, nice, smooth, like 3-hour drive.
Did you make that trip by car?
Yeah,
or by truck before when it was dirt.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just very dusty, long, horrendous. It was miserable coming there.
And now, you know, it's
amazing,
super nice. Yeah,
amazing.
Man.
But yeah, okay. So we were talking about that because Gander is getting their fast ferries. So we were talking about ships, and I don't like. I'm actually. This is gonna be sweet because I would. I look forward to going on this boat, seeing how fast it is, because it'll actually be fast. Because these big ships do travel a lot faster than people think they do, even the old ones.
Yeah.
But like the problem for me, like we were discussing before this, it's never been like the length of the ferry ride.
Right.
So to take that ferry ride from like 3.5 or 4 hours to like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're missing out on a good nap.
Yeah,
actually. Like you get halfway out and it's like you get drowsy. You've camped out. You got your spot.
You finish all your downloaded YouTube
knows how to do
videos.
this. If you follow Tui, he knows how to behave on the ferry.
Yeah.
You know, he's asleep by 30 minutes out.
I say that, but everybody wants to go interlink.
Yeah.
Like everybody is like, interlink, it's faster.
Yeah.
It's faster. I'm like, yeah, it's like 20 minutes faster.
Yeah.
And since when in your life in Fiji have you ever been concerned about arriving somewhere faster?
20 minutes early.
I'm not buying it. This is Fiji. And we say Fiji time?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, everybody chooses Interlink because of it's faster? Bro, I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. If you want to make a difference, don't worry about getting people from one side to the other in 2 hours. Worry about them, how they buy a ticket, how they get to the boat, and that experience. That's where the money needs to be. Better buses, better ticket systems, better all of that. If you do that and you make the system easy and comfortable, then...
And I don't think that's something that's on the boat companies even to do. I think it's in the best interest, like we're saying, of the government to be able to... Because they already subsidize these ferry tickets, to my knowledge. Yeah. So if you're doing that, you should work at creating a good e-ticketing system.
Yeah.
So I can, from Canada, book my ferry ticket with a credit card.
Ahead of
time. Because if you're talking about pushing tourists to the north, like they don't come here by teleporting.
No.
And they need more options than Fiji Link.
Yep.
Like that's it. Obviously, if we can afford it all the time, we'd all fly Fiji Link.
That's right.
It's fast. It's easy. But
I love the experience. I love the experience of seeing Fiji, of going, and especially when somebody else is driving. If you, I've ridden the bus over. I've driven over.
Would you ever sail? Like, would you ever, if you knew somebody with a sailboat and they're like, hey,
I'd love to. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Like
I kind of missed that opportunity, I think, with Leone and Laura when they brought the boat over for Nukumbadi. I'd asked him. Remember, I think you were part of that. Remember when they were picking up the boat from Viti Levu and bringing it over?
Oh, yeah, right.
I would have done that in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's like...
busy.
Yeah. No, they had... Something came up for those guys that knocked them sideways. Yeah. Or they had to make it really fast. And it just didn't work out.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I would have done that in a minute.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley. I love that.
But would you ever hop on, like, say you meet somebody, they got a catamaran that they leave in Savu, and they're like, hey, let's go for a week. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, two stories about creepy people on sailboats.
Creepy boat rides.
For after hours.
Of course Stewie has that. Yeah, I would love that. That was something I got to do when I was in the service. Fixed a boat for somebody, and and they're like, "Hey, do you want to ride around this way?" And I was 100% down with that.
It's awesome. I spent, I think it was 2 nights, or was it just 1 night on a sailboat, a little tiny monohull up in Nanaimo, on Vancouver Island. Yeah, just me and 4 other guys. Dude, chaos. Like,
love that.
4 guys like below the age of like 25, 27, I think was the oldest. 4 of them on a boat, and like none of us have sailed before, except for one. The impeller went. There's smoke coming out of the engine. We're like, we can still see Nanaimo at the end of the bay. We're like, we're gonna sink this boat right now. But worth it for the salmon fishing.
Tina, something like that would be a vomit comet for her. There would be,
because
she gets seasick really easy. Not really easy, but it would do her in probably. Like too long sleeping on it, and especially once it gets to pitching and rolling, and and that
the
real
monohulls are really bad for when you're at anchor. Like the catamaran's a lot more stable. Where the monohulls will sway a lot more.
Yeah. I have good sea legs, so.
Yeah, well, you're in the Navy, right?
Yeah. Well, not everybody does. It's
you don't get better. Or
you get better.
Do you? Is that a thing you can?
Get
less of? Okay.
Well, you get used to it as you go out. We were talking about this.
But would you ever get out onto dry land? Like, say when you're docked at Bahrain, would you ever get off and then like you're still swaying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you still feel it.
Because I feel that after a week of a weekend of spearfishing.
Yeah, they were just talking about that this week.
Yeah, you feel that? Yeah. Like I'll just be sitting there or standing doing the dishes, and I'm like.
It just depends on where if you had a head cold, all of those things, it all makes a difference. But yeah, when we would get back from like a long deployment or something, and I would definitely feel that, like you lay down and go to sleep, and you just kind of feel that mentally a little bit, like the rolling and pitching and other stuff. And I was always like, I would get a little bit of a headache when we go to sea.
Oh,
like when we'd first get out of the harbor and we'd start getting into swell.
Yeah.
The ship would start, and we were on a good sized ship, so it wasn't terrible.
What was the name of your vessel?
The USS Coronado.
Is it? Do you think if I?
It is in the bottom of the ocean right now. It was blown.
Really?
Yeah, it was blown to pieces and made a coral habitat. I guarantee it. USS Coronado.
This is not it, is it?
It is this one right there.
This one?
Yep, that's the pictures we're
Whoa.
looking at. I don't know if that's the era that I was on it or not.
Wow.
I can tell you pretty quick.
Dude, how sick is Starlink, though, hey? Cool.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Cool. So I worked on the little gun on the front. You see on the...
Here?
Yep, that's the Phalanx weapon system, close-in weapon system.
Whoa.
I was a fire controlman, and that's what I worked on.
Crazy.
Yep, it's got a little search radar, a tracking radar. It's got a 6-barrel...
Inserting picture here.
6-barrel, 20-millimeter Gatling gun that shoots... It was choked down on that and shot 3,000 rounds a minute. And
how big are the bullets?
20 millimeter. They were depleted uranium round with a nylon sabot.
So heavy.
So it would just, the whole idea was like you were putting 3,000, that's 50 rounds in 1 second, right? And so it's in a Gatling gun. And so all you're doing is you're throwing this wall of metal up in the sky for the missile to run into, right?
Oh.
And so it's made off of it's made for anti-ship missiles.
Oh.
To as a ship defense for anti-ship missiles. And so, it's built around the idea of like the Exocet. This goes way back in the 80s.
Explain, yeah.
So in the 80s, in the Falklands War, one of the British ships was sunk by an Exocet missile. It was a French surface-to-surface missile. And
a what ship was sunk?
A British destroyer, or
was sunk by a French ship
in the Falklands. No, it was sunk by who was it? Argentinians. I think they had bought it from the French.
Oh, right.
And so this British ship was sunk by that, and it really kind of spurred this. We need anti-missile defense on ships, and so this was developed to do that. And it is, like I said, it's got a little search radar and a tracking radar. And so it independently finds a target that's moving at a certain speed, like a high speed.
Okay.
And then it switches to track. And so it does all this like a little robot. It kicks around and
this is
insert,
like, what, 30
insert
plus
the
years
Italian
ago?
showing you how things work by, and so it immediately switches over to track, and then it tracks it. And when it gets to a certain range, it launches 1,000 bullets at this thing.
What?
And it shoots continually until it disappears from the track. And so maybe you'll get 4 or 5 hits, but you've put out so many rounds that theoretically it's going to hit whatever it's shooting at. And I'm sure that over time, from the 80s to now, it's gotten much more accurate and better at it.
Isn't the cost of these things like... this is like every...
Yeah, you're not buying this and putting it out here in the... in the village.
For the pigs?
For shooting pigs. I mean, it would turn it into mincemeat immediately. Because eventually, I think they switched originally...
And this is not a gun you hold, just to be clear.
No. This thing is... It's taller than us by far, and so
it's all robotics.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all self-contained. It's a completely self-contained thing, where they just basically lift it on the ship, drop it in place, and it's working. And then we had to take care of it.
And this is how many years ago?
This
30 years? 30 plus?
Man, this is, let's see, I left the Coronado I went in 86. So it's almost 40 years ago.
Wow. So imagine what the technology is like now, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But it's one of those things. It's still around. And so that means
it is.
It means that it is like whatever technology is behind it. And it was like early in the digital,
right.
In the digital field of things. Right. And so it was just as the U.S. Navy was transitioning from analog to digital in its fire control, which is a whole thing that you really don't want me to talk about here because it'll like put people to sleep. But it is, but that's what I entered into it there and so yeah, it was like one of the early digitally controlled fire control.
So was this like an updated ship? Like, was this a high-tech
ship? Old ship? No.
Okay.
So the Coronado was you can see, like, we're looking at a picture of it, and it is probably, I think it's like 500 feet long. It's a pretty good sized ship. It's got a landing craft bay in the rear end of it. It's got a landing pad for helicopters on the rear end of it. And then the whole forward part of it is command and control. And it was modified to carry the flagship, the flag officers in wherever it was. It was a AGF, which is a flag carrier. Basically.
What does that mean?
That means that, like if you're talking about like the admiral of the Sixth Fleet for the United States,
okay.
whoever's in charge of the Sixth Fleet, which would be the Mediterranean.
Okay.
The admiral,
so is that when you say the Sixth Fleet? Is there five? Is there
there's
like
multiple fleets?
Okay.
Like there's Pacific Fleet, Atlantic Fleet, and then those are broken down into varying areas. And I don't know what they are now.
Right.
I don't want to. At the time, I was part of when I was on the Coronado, we were Sixth Fleet, which was in the Mediterranean.
Okay.
And so we carried the admiral that was in charge of that particular area of responsibility for the Navy. And
so you're like the driver for one of the ministers.
Yeah. We were very unimportant.
Right.
I was very, very unimportant. I was, I was very much
don't say
in
that.
the whole.
You're like Rambo out there.
I was very unimportant, and so we're just like one of the ants in the anthill, and we just made things happen and
full food on there, full bunks.
Yep. Yeah.
Everything.
We slept on the all the way on the back part towards the back of the boat on the side walls of it where there was berthing areas, and I think there was berthing for in the space of this veranda. I think there was probably 16 of us sleeping in there easily. Plus area for sitting around and watching television and
the TV.
Yeah. This was like VCR time and everything.
Wow.
So,
So why did they sink this thing?
It just aged out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just reached a point where it was more expensive to maintain than it was to maintain and repair than it was to keep afloat. And so
they should have sent it to Fiji.
Yeah, I know. We could have used it. We could have used that as a ferry.
I know.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome, actually.
Yeah, at the time, this is after a couple of years after I was on it, they took there was a 3-inch gun on there.
Okay.
Or it was a 5-inch 50, I think. 5-inch gun that was on there, twin 5-inch guns.
But you only get that on Interlink, not Gounder.
No. Yeah. I mean, having a cannon on board would be awesome, wouldn't it? It would change everything.
Yeah.
And it would solve a lot of problems for Gounder and Interlink, right? If you're carrying a cannon, it's like, there goes Interlink. They're done.
That's funny.
They're passing each other out in the middle of the strait and launch a couple 5-inch shells into the side of the thing. That eliminates competition in a rapid system.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, we're onto something here now, I think.
And it's like, if you're on the winning ship, bonus. That changes your whole trip.
Everybody, that's actually a big deal when you get to the port. Everybody wants to be on the winning ship. Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was my Navy experience but going to sea, there would be guys that would immediately get sick as soon as we went out of the harbor, and you still have to do your job. You'd probably see it on Gounder and Interlink, the guys that are brand new to it, like their first time working, and they're down in the hull, they're down working in the engine room or something like that, and it's like, brrr, and it hits you, and there's like no stopping it when it hits you when you get seasick, and you still got to do your job. And so in the Navy, they would make you tie a garbage bag to your belt, and you'd vomit into the garbage bag, and you just keep
going
until you reached a point where it's like you just can't stand up anymore, and then you'd go to medical, and they'd write you a chit, and you'd nap for a while until you got over it. There's guys who just never got over it. And
ever.
And there would be, there's people who just don't have that ability, just the same as like, I didn't really get bothered by it.
Yeah.
There's people who just,
I've never really gotten, you don't get it.
Like I said, I get a headache to begin with.
Even on your small boat right now?
No, not
No, yeah. Like on
not whatsoever.
Yeah. Even on the big ship, I don't get seasick.
Tina was asking about this. We'd gone fishing in Hawaii, and it was just like a big game fishing boat. And she was trying to figure out, why did I get sick there and not here, right? More motion, little boat and everything else, but there's something about being connected to everything versus it's like trying to read your phone when somebody's driving.
Right, yeah.
When you disconnect from all the clues that your brain needs, and you throw a bunch of motion.
It's like when you hear a fly that goes out the window of a moving car. You're like, I always wonder what this is like, to be a fly that flies out a window.
It's like a bad day.
100 kilometers
it's like, here I was locked in and everything was going really good, and now here I am. Nothing. and I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know anybody.
Surprise, surprise. Okay, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you don't have any headlines for us to discuss, do you? Did you?
Oh my!
Did you hear about the whole fiasco about Linda Tambuya too?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Okay, so here's my.
I would love to hear your take.
Okay, here's
on this.
my take, and
I'm
we
gonna
can
try
chop
not to
this out
weigh
of
in.
this.
Okay.
No, I have not watched the video. No. So this is me not seeing the content. From what I understand, it was her dancing naked in front of but there was no. You didn't even know who was filming it, though. You don't see the person's face, do you?
It was just standard. It was the husband.
But do you see his face?
No.
But how do you know it's the husband then?
Was he filming it?
The husband confirmed it.
Oh, did he confirm it? Okay, so even better. So this helps my point. All
So
right?
for the husband,
Yeah, because
in their own private.
Yeah. And don't know how it got out.
yeah. So here's the thing: she's obviously been released from her position as a minister, as the minister of what is it?
Women and children,
and a bunch of stuff.
That's
poverty poverty alleviation.
Yep.
So, for me, I feel like it was a little premature, her releasing, simply because it was an act that was done between her and her husband.
Yep.
Now, was it smart for them to take a video? No, probably not. Is it smart for you to use, like, your phone is always listening to you. Why in the heck do you think anybody with an iPhone can say, "Hey Siri," and she's like, "Hey"?
Yeah.
It's listening to you.
Right.
So, which means they could probably also have the phone on.
Yes.
So if you ever got your phone propped up and you're jerking off, it might be watching you. Okay, guys? I'm just saying. It can happen. So you're at your own risk to take these kinds of videos.
Yeah.
And if it was between her and her husband, it's consensual. What they do between themselves is totally okay.
Actually,
like, that's none of our business.
Right.
We now entered the marriage bedroom.
Right.
So, like, I don't actually think she did anything wrong. She's been under a bunch of heat because she's had some complicated allegations in recent history.
yeah.
But the question is, how did the video get out? If
Yeah.
it was just between her and her husband, then she
Right.
sent it or he sent it.
Right.
Or they gave it to one of their family members to play a game while they're
Yeah.
sitting in a meeting, and it's like, here, just be quiet and take the phone
Yeah.
and pictures and then send. And
Yeah.
they're in a group of people, like in with a group of teenagers, and they
Yep.
forward it to somebody. Crap can hit the fan very, very fast.
She got
in this
dirty
world of
dogged
technology.
by somebody.
Yeah. And so my honest opinion is, yeah, for sure, do better.
Yeah.
Maybe, you're pushing 50. We don't need the sexy videos. I love you. You love me, babe. We're good.
Yeah.
But it happened in the marriage bedroom. Beyond that, she might be right that it is now bullying because people are
absolutely.
cyberbullying because people are now spreading it around and using
Yeah.
it. And I feel like her release was a bit premature. That's my own take on it.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that, like, I'm not for or against Linda or whatever. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just think that's
Yeah.
yeah.
From a pastoral perspective,
Yes.
And there's enough, we have enough stigma against like healthy physical relationships between couples in marriage, right? There's enough against us. When you have a couple that actually successfully still has a desire relationship for one another,
Physically.
it's like celebrate.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah.
That they actually have a relationship where they love one another. There's a little, or spice or whatever you want to call to it. Like they got the hots for one another. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
The lack of, she's not the head of national security, right? And so
Is there a head of national security?
I don't know if there is one for Fiji. I don't know. Tui, maybe you can look that up.
Actually, it might be Tui.
It might be Tui.
Yeah.
And the Central Intelligence Agency for Fiji,
There you
or
go.
the head of the Coconut Wireless. I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
But there's somebody, whoever's in charge of something like that, that's an issue.
Yeah.
For the head of women and children and other things, how they handle it, definitely a solid scolding. Be more aware of your positions, and I think the hard part is this is a not puritanical, right? It's not a puritanical society by any means. Like there's no
explain that.
There's no expectation of like absolute purity.
Okay.
Right. That we are, but and you would speak more on this, like, how it's perceived. I think that's the core of it.
Yeah.
Right. The loss of dignity, that loss of, and it also goes into women's issues and some other things that would the same have been done for a man in that position, you know?
Yeah. Or a different woman.
Yeah.
Even because I know Linda she's very outspoken.
Yeah.
And she rubs a lot of women, Itoke women in Fiji, the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because she's an outspoken Itoke. She's not Mandua. She doesn't just take it and sit back. She's overstated in her dress, in her makeup, in the way she speaks publicly. She's not your typical Fijian woman.
Yep.
And
I think when she first...
That makes her a good target too, I think.
Was it Parliament 2 or 3 years ago? She showed up in a white dress, and there was like a big hubbub about that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It was like a pretty form-fitting dress, and they and there was like, can you believe, and it was...
Oh, my God.
So she's definitely polarizing, and I think there's maybe on purpose. I think...
yeah.
She's a pretty savvy lady.
Yeah, 100%. Got me in the election.
And so,
I'm not saying I voted for her or anything, but maybe I did. Maybe I did. Hey, we never know, okay? I didn't see the white dress, all right? I have very pure voting motives. As you're saying.
So, but I think the challenge is how she's treated. And the respect that it costs her, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yep.
In this society, how it's challenging, And
it's easy for people to, like us even, to sit at 10,000 feet and look at the situation and cast all of our judgment, and we don't know all the details, right? Yeah. And people have said, well, like, it's because she was drunk, and you shouldn't. Yeah. Okay. True. Good point. You do silly things when you're drinking. But maybe, was she? Yeah. Did you smell the alcohol in her breath? Right. Maybe that's just, they get spicy and they get weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's so easy to...
It's, it's when you reach different levels of authority and responsibility, you carry different weight on your shoulders.
Yes.
And part of that, it's, from me, it's pastorally. Mm-hmm. How do I comport myself in public pastorally? As a representative of someone who I worship, right? Jesus.
Yeah.
And so there's elements of my private life that I'm a little more unhinged, but I try to make sure that in my public persona that I am being
above reproach. No,
I'm not, I'm trying to be me in the most, like, I'm changing to be a better me possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Like, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better.
And there's times when, Avery's been around us, and our family's a little unhinged sometimes, and
let's get Avery in there.
Yeah. And
like, oh yeah,
my nephew, and we joke, and there's other things, but we're, it's not over the top, and there's a respect for the process, I think, in it. It's like I try not to be too much different in all aspects of my life than I am anywhere. If you're gonna get the same kind of comments out of me, the same sort of behavior wherever you see me in my life, and the better I'm doing at that, the better it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And it's constantly working towards just being a better me, and that is, the end result is, like, we look at things from the Christ-likeness perspective. As a follower of Jesus, I'm always working at growing in Christ-likeness. And there's things that I'm hardwired, after 60 years, there's things that it's tougher for me to shake, pathways that are easier to walk, jokes that come easy that maybe shouldn't come so easy,
right.
all the things, and but I still have the same sense of humor that I am as me, and that's always in a process of adjusting to being a little more Christ-like.
Yeah.
And for her, as a parliamentarian, as a leader of people, again, did you delete that question? Really matters. Did you get rid of that? Or did you keep that? And is there risk? And not assessing the risk, and not living and not kind of making sure that your risk doesn't come true.
Yeah.
Like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And all of us, it'd be, is it the same? If somebody gets caught driving drunk, right?
Yeah. Because to me, that is like one of the most shameful things that people ever do.
Yeah.
Like I have no tolerance for it. Like I don't even want to be involved with people who do it, because I'm like, nah.
Or drunk in public, and
go kill one of your own kids.
Yeah. That's
how I feel. Like, because I'm like, that could easily happen. And you might go out and smack somebody's kid.
Say somebody in Parliament, say they go to some sort of night, they go club after, all the things, New Year's Eve party or something like that. They go out, spout
a lot
off,
of them were. A lot of them were, yeah.
And they spout off and they get in trouble or something happens. It's like, but it's just such a tough call, because it's not her fault.
Yeah.
Right? It is, because
it happened.
Yep.
But it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I know is if a video came out and I'm dancing, it's
not going to be as interesting.
Yeah, just Shaggy, all right? Wasn't me.
And then it's like, yeah, it was. No, it wasn't me. 100% wasn't me.
I'm
nope,
dancing in
no
the
way.
counter. Wasn't me. Yeah.
That one in the link is like the whole story of the second link, I think that.
Oh. Oh, the Virgin?
Yeah.
Australia, sorry, the Virgin. The Virgin Australia, the airline.
That's a bad deal.
Yeah, so what happened?
Yeah.
Man. So
the second link?
Yeah, you could play it.
That was two people who work for Virgin Airlines went out partying on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
And then after that, things like the details for me would get fuzzy. But I know the woman that was involved in it was raped, and the man got into and I think they got separated. They were separate incidents, and the man, he got either robbed and beat up, I think, right?
That's the whole, I don't know.
Should we watch the whole video?
Yeah.
It's pretty serious. I mean, I saw today, and I think, I forget where I read it.
Raped and robbed on a night out in Fiji. Virgin Australia crew members at the centre of a New Year's Eve nightmare. Outside this nightclub, the male worker was treated for injuries to his face, but few details have been made public about the sexual assault of his female colleague.
In these reports from Fiji are only emerging right now. I'm advised that there are significant privacy considerations.
A suspect known to Fijian authorities has been questioned over the attack. The victims told to stay in their hotel rooms to assist with the investigation. In an internal email to staff, Virgin Australia described the ordeal as a serious security incident. Senior management and the crew's family members have been flown to Fiji for support. 7 News understands a replacement crew has been dispatched to Fiji to fly the original plane back home. The airline says their main priority is the welfare of their staff. It's more bad news for Fiji's tourism industry. Just last month, 4 Australians fell victim to a suspected mass poisoning at a 5-star resort on the country's coral coast. Today, Fiji's Deputy Prime Minister labelled this week's incident.
Okay, well, pause right there, because I actually have a problem with that, because did they actually ever confirm anything?
Yeah, it was bounty land.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 4 white chicks flew in from Australia. They got excited and they started drinking freaking pina coladas with Bounty White rum, which is like 48% alcohol, and they got alcohol poisoning.
incident as regrettable.
Allegedly.
Regrettably, incidents like this can happen anywhere, and Fiji is not immune. We, as always, remind tourists to exercise caution in nightclub areas and late at night. Estelle Grey-Pink, 7 News.
Okay, so here's the. This is my first thought initially after hearing that. Is we try to make something that is actually, and as much as it might not be popular opinion, but going out and clubbing and being drunk in public is actually not a good thing to be doing.
No.
It's not a safe thing to be doing, and Christian lifestyle. It's actually a sin to be doing. Not to be necessarily. I mean, leave it up for debate. Going out and just dancing even if you're not drinking, but those places are not the safest places to be. And if you're going out and you're drinking and you're getting drunk, we're asked not to do that for reasons that are good for our prosperity, you could say.
Yeah.
Like there was like 603 or 630 commandments, like the 10 of which we probably know the most popular ones, but the reason for that was like it was good for human flourishing.
Yeah.
Most of those things were like, hey, it's good if you don't have sex with your sister,
right?
Because your kids might turn out weird, you know?
Yeah. Don't eat pork because they don't have thermometers at the time, and
exactly, and you're gonna get real sick.
Yeah.
And so there's things like this where it's like, hey, in the hopes for, having a great experience in your life, don't go to countries where you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
And go out drinking and clubbing.
Yes.
That would actually be the smart. And I know that's impossible because a lot of people come to Fiji, they're on holidays, and holidays are often go hand in hand with copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that does not make it right.
No.
Obviously.
It's New Year's.
So,
I think it happened on New Year's Eve, right, Tui?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the whole situation is, again, it goes back to, letting things get out of your control. And it's not their fault, right? There is a part.
Well, there's a guy who definitely did something terrible here.
Right. That's what you have to go down to, is like there's a crime that was committed on both of these people, and it's heinous.
Yes.
Right? That somebody actually took the steps to assault either of those people, and then sexual assault is just, that's vile.
Yeah.
But when there's, and this is where it gets dicey, right? You can't shift blame, right? They should be able to do whatever they want to do safely.
Yeah.
Right? But exactly what you said is true. It's like, don't put yourself in situations where you're going to be ripe for the picking.
Yeah.
Where somebody's going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And I can't say, I don't know, nobody knows but those two at what level of self-control they were. What the situation was.
Even take that out of it and take everything I said out of it. Like, be very clear, like, just so it's clear, it's wrong.
Yep.
What happened.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Again, going back to my experiences in a lot of different ports, it's like we were counseled regularly to, make sure that you don't put yourself in situations, have buddies, make sure you're never alone, make sure you put all these things in place so that you can go out and do stupid in the safest way that you possibly can.
But it's still stupid.
It's still stupid.
It's still stupid, though, just to be clear.
Right.
It's still stupid.
And we did stupid.
Yeah. And four girls coming from Australia to Fiji and then, going straight to the Bounty rum, that's stupid.
Yeah.
All right? The only thing that's funny is that it's not funny. There's a lot of negative news right now about tourism in Fiji.
Right.
And so we get all of this negative press from Australian and New Zealand news stations.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in on the back end with their charities and their NGOs and be like, hey, but we'll help you guys out and we'll give you guys tourist dollars.
Yeah.
If you adopt our woke ideologies on this and this and this, then we'll help you.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, call it conspiracy, I guess.
Right.
But like I don't know, but I just always feel weird because it's so easy to make bad news about Fiji.
Right. Yeah.
But then you act like you're our heroes.
Right.
because you give us all this funding
Right.
to make sure that we can get access to World Bank stuff and all these grants to assist our different, ministries and tourism and stuff.
But it goes back to what you and I have talked about before. It's like my part. Again, we look at things from a particular perspective. My part, God's part, their part, right? And even if you take God out of the picture, and it's like my part and your part, right? My part is to, if I'm doing something that I want to do, it's to make sure that I do it in a way that that I'm aware of my situations. I am self-controlled. I am, doing everything I can to make sure that I'm safe in a foreign country. And your part, as the other person involved in this, is don't be rapey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Don't rape.
Right.
Yeah.
Really. Actually be human.
Yeah.
And not look at somebody in that way and take advantage of somebody in that situation. And, where those things collide, obviously the person who's the assaulter has the 99.9% of the responsibility in that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The 0.1% of responsibility for for making bad choices that put somebody in a situation, it's like that's for that person to deal with.
Yeah.
The rest of their life.
And our friends.
We deal with that in Justin's loss.
Yeah.
It's the same. The driver of the motorcycle has the bulk of the responsibility, but Justin made a decision to sit on the back of a motorcycle and he lost his life. And so ultimately the decision that cost him his life is his decision. Right?
Yeah.
Because he knew it was a situation that he knew better to get involved in.
Yeah.
And so,
and there's a lot of freedom in that, whatever, like self-awareness and that acknowledging and taking ownership of things in life.
Yeah, maybe cats and dogs is a good thing right now.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Should we cut it there? What do you think? Is there anything that you want to talk about that we didn't talk
good.
about?
I was brain dead coming into this today, so you did
sweet.
awesome, John.
Yes, we did it. All right. Thank you guys for joining. My name is Jonathan. This is my friend Dave.
And God is saying, wrap it up.
What's that?
God's saying,
wrap it up. God's saying, wrap it up. Exactly. We're the Walker Family, and this is the Walker Family Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in live, if you can still hear me. We moved our family here in the year 2020 to utilize all the land that we have behind us and to create new businesses and create opportunities so that people don't have to leave Fiji to, find new life and be successful. And I also believe that Christian business owners can change the world. So making content, I believe, was the fastest way to get our word out there and to become known, because we're up against people who have multiple generations of family business. And so the only way to leverage our time is to create videos, because now this one will go out and it'll be watched for hundreds and hundreds of hours while I'm asleep in the room behind you. So thank you for joining, Dave.
Hey, awesome.
Appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Adios.